we should keep in mind just the kinds of people that these federal judges are so desperately fighting to keep in America. We have this Judge Brian Murphy currently fighting desperately to return to America a bunch of illegal migrants that Trump has deported to Sudan. Let's refresh our recollection on who these guys are. And they're allowed to be anonymous so that the public cannot research them like we were able to research Maryland man Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia and discover that he was an MS-13 terrorist member, a human trafficker, a spousal abuser. That they don't want to expose the reality of these migrants. But what we do know is bad enough. This migrant, EAH, convicted, not charged, convicted with robbery using a deadly weapon, strong arm robbery, attempted second-degree murder, unlawful possession of a firearm by a felon, robbery using a deadly weapon. These are all convictions. JMR, convicted of arson in the second degree, convicted of cocaine trafficking, convicted of possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, convicted of possession of drug paraphernalia, convicted of attempted first-degree murder with a weapon. TN, convicted in California of first-degree murder. That's who this judge wants to keep here. Robbed and murdered a 64-year-old German tourist. That was in 1995, and we're still fighting to get rid of this guy. JMG, convicted of murder in the second degree. In 2005, 20 years ago. KM, convicted of lascivious acts with a child predator, person under the age of 12. NM, convicted in Nebraska, attempted sexual assault in the first degree. How many of these people do we need in America? TTP, convicted of murder in the first degree, convicted of assault in the second degree. It's unbelievable. That's who these people are fighting. These unelected, black-robed, tyrannical, inferior district trial court judges are fighting to keep these people in America. Here's one by Andy No, or maybe it's Go. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name.
Arrest records show residents living at 30 of the city's 200 migrant shelters have been arrested more than 1,200 times in the last year. City records show the top crimes include petty larceny, assault, grand larceny, endangering the welfare of a child, and robbery. Arrest records
1,200 bonus crimes that would not be committed but for these migrants being in America. Of course, it's not just New York City, it's everywhere we put these migrants, especially the sanctuary cities where their crimes are underreported.
Visa waiver program.
Tourist burglars. They're tourists who are breaking into our homes at night where we sleep with our wives and children. Tourist burglars. And I saw someone mention in the comments, these aren't migrants. Migrants migrate back and forth. These people come here and invade. They stay. They don't just come for a period, for a season, for the spring, and then go home. They invade permanently, and they consume scarce American resources, healthcare, housing, money, education, employment, like human locusts.
By cities last year.
We are a nation being looted by millions of invaders, legal and illegal. Looted criminally, like these so-called tourist burglars, and looted by legal migrants. This whole H-1B visa system to bring the third world to America is nothing but a scam, a money laundering enterprise, and a theft of opportunities from American citizens to instead hand them to millions of third worlders.
Part of a South American criminal gang busted.
How many of these people do we need in America? How are they adding value to America? How is it in our national interest to bring these in? Now, you know whose interest it is in? It's in the interest of the Democrats because all these people, even if they don't illegally vote, and we know many of them do, but even if they don't vote, every member of these Chilean gangs, and they don't just commit burglary, they commit murders, kidnappings, sexual assaults, every crime imaginable against women and children. Every one of these cretins is counted in the census for the Democrats for House apportionment. The Democrats have 30 to 40 House seats they would not have but for the presence of these monsters in our nation.
Will the
A 5,000% increase in Chinese migrants. And if you've seen the videos of these Chinese migrants coming in by the dozens, by the score, by the hundreds, they're all strangely military-aged men without women and children with them. That looks like a military invasion to me. Where are they all? We don't know. They enter our border, they're released, and they disappear off our radar screen. Does anybody imagine any good is going to come out of importing thousands of military-aged Chinese? Anybody think they're up to things that are in America's interest?
migrant day, some of them with violent histories, including murder, rape, drugs, and weapons trafficking.
These are the people that Biden let in under the visa waiver program. People convicted, not merely charged or suspected, but convicted of murders, rapes, armed robberies, maimings, killings, burglaries. That means they're kicking in the door to your house, where you live, your castle. And God forbid you defend yourself, then these same radical judges are going to use the legal process to torture you by prosecuting you for the killing of that burglar. If they have a scintilla of opportunity to do that, in unjust, politically motivated persecution, racially motivated persecution, heaven forbid, you're an old white guy and you shoot some poor Chilean migrant.
It makes
Specially privileged migrants under Biden's program from Venezuela, Nicaragua, and Haiti. Look at this explosion of migrants allowed into the country just in the last 2 years of the Biden administration. This was an invasion of America promulgated, driven, facilitated by our own government, the Democrat President Joe Otto Penn Biden, or whoever was pulling his strings. Follow up. As a rule, medical residents come on J-1 visas, which require they return home unless they get hired here. Most don't, and so they go back. So I understand this argument. It has merit. And I say, too bad. Too bad. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, we might have had the luxury to entertain this. Pretend we have kind of a controlled entry into the nation of only the best and brightest of the rest of the world coming here. Well, if either they're staying and I don't want them, or they're leaving. If they're leaving, why are we educating them in America? There are medical schools in other nations. Why are they not being educated at medicine in their own nation if they're only going to end up back in their own nation? All right, let's look back at the so-called these arguments that, well, these migrants, maybe they commit some crimes, but they commit crimes at a rate lower than American citizens. First of all, I don't believe you. You're lying to me because we don't have good statistics on the crimes committed by aliens. In many jurisdictions, when someone tells a judge appearing in federal court that they're an illegal migrant, the judge will reduce or dismiss the criminal charge to avoid complicating their immigration status. In Colorado, they just passed a law that allows illegal migrants who've previously pled guilty to crimes to get those guilty pleas removed from their criminal records if it would cause complications with their immigration status. They're cleansing, the Colorado legislature is cleansing the criminal records of illegal migrants of serious crimes to protect them from the lawful consequences of their illegal status in Colorado. You think they do that for American citizens? That's how desperate these progressive woke DEI mind virus monsters are to import and keep the millions, tens of millions of illegal migrants currently in America, no matter what crimes they're engaged in. Very common for illegal migrants from Venezuela, from Chile. The Chilean robbers, they get arrested, they get booked, they get labeled by race as white. As white. If you spend any time on social media, you see endless mugshots of people booked for serious crimes who are obviously not white. But they're labeled as white, so they go into the data as white. Oh, look, more white people committing crimes. It's a lie. It is an utter lie. So either they're not charged, the charges are dismissed, their records are cleansed, or they are mischaracterized. They're not labeled as illegal migrants in the booking. They're not even labeled correctly by nationality or race. It's just more white people committing crimes. Who'd have thunk it?
Is the country sick and